His skin was turning blue. Frost had already claimed his fingers. No fire, no coat, just snow, breath, and bone-deep silence. And still he survived. Before jackets, before blankets, before boots, ancient people faced winters that would kill most of us in ours, naked. So how? Well, that's what we'll find out today in this channel. And this is part 10 of 12 of our series, How Did They?, where we explore how the world used to be. Different, more brutal, more beautiful, and more badass. Let's begin. This is the part of history no one talks about because it doesn't sound real. But it is. Meet Yalvik, a young boy from a forgotten Arctic tribe. At age 13, his rite of passage was simple. Survive one winter night without clothes. No tent, no fire. It's just the forest and what the ancestors taught. So Yalvik prepared. He dug a hole in the snow, curled into a ball, and breathed slowly. Not fast. Never fast, because heat escapes through panic. He remembered his father's words. Stillness keeps warmth, movement steals it. Above him, the sky cracked with wind. Below him, the earth whispered death. All around him, temperatures dropped so low, they defied our modern tools. But Yalvik lived in a time before thermometers, before technology. How could anyone know or record the exact numbers? But historians estimate these Arctic nights reach between -40 to -60 degrees Fahrenheit. That's between -40 to -51 Celsius. Most of us would be dead in minutes. So how did they do it? Let's rewind a bit. You won't believe this fact, but there were dozens of ancient tribes living in the Arctic. They thrived in the very places that should have killed them. But here's the problem. We call them primitive. We call them uncivilized. But the truth is far more complex. Yes, they lacked our modern comforts, but they conquered the wilderness that would destroy modern gear. They literally beat nature at its own game, and the key, it seems, was knowledge. It's the kind you don't learn from books, the kind you bleed for. When Europeans finally reached these tribes, they saw two things: absolute poverty and total mastery. Think about it. If you've ever seen Northern Lights, you've witnessed this. Ancient people didn't fight the cold, they worked with it. Inuits are famous for their snow houses called igloos. But before igloos, they built snow pits. These are basically holes dug into the snow, then covered over, leaving only a small opening. Now here's the thing. Hot air rises, cold air sinks. That's exactly what happens inside a snow pit. Warm air from inside the pit rises and gets replaced by colder air from above. This creates a current that sucks in warm air from below and pushes out cold air from above. It's like an oven. Now imagine this. A hut made of wood or animal hides. Sounds good, right? Until it rains. See, if you huddle in a wooden hut during a blizzard, eventually the wind will find a crack, push in the cold, wet rain, and freeze you alive. Snow, on the other hand, acts as a barrier. Take this tribe. They loved living in snow pits because snow is actually a better insulator than open air. Here's why. Snow reflects 80 to 90% of sunlight. It also slows down the transfer of heat through radiation, convection, and conduction. Yes, it's cold, but not nearly as deadly as a wooden hut in a blizzard. If you want to prove it to yourself, try this experiment. And when it snows, find a place without snow on the ground. Curl up and time how long it takes for your body to start freezing. Then repeat the experiment in the snow. You'll see what Yalvik and his friends already knew. So when the sun went down, Yalvik curled up in his snow pit. His teeth chattered. His fingers throbbed. But he stayed still. And after what felt like forever, the first rays of sunlight touched his eyelids. Yalvik opened his eyes and saw a new day. He had survived. Barely. He didn't cry. He didn't move. He just listened to the cold and let it shape him. Then he got up and joined his village. They embraced him as one of their own. That was just the beginning. Because surviving the night was only half the battle. The second half was getting through the rest of your life. And that meant facing challenges like this every single day. Here's the problem. No one has an instruction manual for surviving in the Arctic. There's no guidebook for fighting off frostbite. So history is full of experiments, mistakes, pain, and lessons learned in blood. For example, our modern idea of clothing began around 170,000 years ago with the invention of the spear. No more chasing woolly mammoths and loincloths. Clothing soon became essential. That created a problem. What Yalvik and his friends wore wasn't fur. because fur holds moisture and becomes heavy. It was reindeer hide, which is naturally water resistant. So in dry, cold weather, it was perfect. But once snow fell, it was a disaster. When snow hits dry leather, it simply stays on top. But once that snow melts, it soaks your skin directly. As the water freezes on contact, it pulls your skin tight and tears it. The result is agonizing. Now, add a blizzard, and you're basically a popsicle with a heartbeat. So tribes across the Arctic solved this problem in different ways. Some, like the Inuit, used parkas with hoods that covered their faces completely. Others preferred masks made of sealskin, which allowed them to breathe easily. But how did they keep their faces from freezing? Well, many discovered a way to reuse the very thing that could kill them: moisture. Whenever they exhaled, water vapor hit the cool air and turned into tiny water droplets. These droplets acted like a natural antifreeze, preventing their faces from turning into popsicles. In fact, a warm body generates so much moisture that Inuit hunters could stay submerged underwater for over 30 minutes without a diving suit. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, Yalvik had to survive his first winter. He learned how to handle snow, wind, ice, and rain. He learned to avoid frostbite, and along the way, he learned something even more valuable: the power of community. Surviving alone was impossible. Working together was essential. And that meant helping others, sharing skills and resources and learning from each other. After all, everyone's different. What works for one person might not work for another. Take, for example, the legendary Pencher, the first European to set foot in Greenland. One story tells the tale of his first encounter with a blizzard. He was out hunting when a storm struck. He lost his way and wandered around for days until he found shelter in a cave. But as the temperature dropped, he realized he needed to do something drastic. He took off all his clothes, hung them on rocks to keep them dry, and jumped into a snowdrift. As the snow piled up, he started digging tunnels, making a space big enough for him to curl up and sleep. In the morning, he got out, changed into dry clothes, and hunted again. Later that day, he met a Greenlandic hunter. And when he told his story, the hunter just smiled and said, "You did it the hard way. Let me show you the easy way." The hunter took him to a nearby lake, cut some blocks of ice, stacked them up to form a dome, filled it with snow, and covered it with hides. They entered the ice hut, and immediately the temperature rose to around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. There were no drafts, no snowdrifts, no frostbite. They were safe. And Paints didn't survive by being tough. He survived by listening to those who knew more than him. That's what it took to survive back then: adaptability. Mentally, physically, and spiritually. We think we're evolved, but our ancestors survived with no gear, no tech, and no comfort, only instinct and iron will. They lived a life of constant challenges, and yet they built entire lives in it. So the next time you complain about the cold, ask yourself, could you survive just one night with no clothes, no fire, and no help? If this story blew your mind, hit like, share it with someone who'd never believe it, and subscribe to The Forgotten Path. Because the world we left behind might have been stronger than the one we live in now. This is the end of part 10 of 12 of our series, How Did They Out? Where we explore how the world used to be. Different, more brutal, more beautiful, and more badass. If you enjoyed this episode, check out part 9, where we revealed how they fought off giant waves. Click the link now, and let's keep exploring together.